Welcome aboard, my friend. Tonight, there is nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be, and no decisions waiting for you. The year is 1715. The sun has already disappeared beyond the endless Atlantic Ocean, leaving behind a fading orange glow along the western horizon. Above you, the first stars begin to appear, one by one, like tiny lanterns hanging in the heavens. You find yourself standing on the deck of a wooden pirate ship. The ship rises and falls gently with the rhythm of the sea. Not too much, just enough to remind you that you are floating on one of the largest oceans on Earth. The air smells of salt, damp wood, tar, and distant rain. A warm breeze brushes against your face. Around you, sailors quietly finish the last tasks of the evening. Some are coiling ropes, others are securing barrels. A few sit together near the bow, talking in low voices. Nobody seems rushed. Nobody seems worried. For tonight, the ocean is peaceful, and for the next few hours, you are simply another traveler aboard this ship. So settle in, relax your shoulders, listen to the waves, and let us drift together into the slow and fascinating world of life aboard a pirate ship in 1715. Before anything else, take a moment to imagine what stands beneath your feet. This vessel is made almost entirely of wood. Massive oak beams form its skeleton. Heavy planks create the deck. The masts tower high above you like the trunks of giant trees. Every part of the ship creaks. Every movement of the sea causes the wood to groan softly. To modern ears, these sounds might seem alarming, but to sailors they are comforting. A silent ship is a suspicious ship. A living ship always talks. The deck beneath your boots whispers constantly. Creak, groan, tap, sigh. The sounds blend with the rhythm of the ocean itself. You walk slowly across the deck. Lantern light flickers from iron hooks attached to wooden posts. The golden glow dances across barrels, ropes, sails, and sleeping cats that roam the ship hunting rats. Yes, cats. Nearly every ship carries them. Without cats, rats would multiply quickly, and rats love stealing food. Sailors may fear storms. They may fear disease. They may fear enemy ships. But they certainly do not want hungry rats eating their precious supplies. A lazy orange cat watches you from atop a barrel. Its tail flicks once. Then it closes its eyes and returns to sleep. The crew seems to envy it. Most sailors wake before sunrise and work until after sunset. Life at sea is exhausting. The ocean never stops moving. Neither does the ship. Even simple tasks become difficult when the floor beneath you constantly shifts. Imagine trying to carry a bucket of water while standing on a moving staircase. Now imagine doing it during rain, darkness, and strong winds. That was normal life for sailors. Many people imagine pirates spending all day searching for treasure. The truth is far less exciting. Most days are surprisingly ordinary. A pirate ship was not a floating adventure every hour of every day. It was closer to a floating workplace. The crew cleaned, cooked, repaired sails, maintained ropes, checked supplies, scrubbed decks, patched leaks, and repeated those tasks again and again, day after day, week after week, month after month. The sea demanded constant attention. Gizzle one damaged rope and disaster could follow. Gizzle one torn sail and the ship could lose speed. Gizzle one leak and the entire vessel might be at risk. Everything required maintenance. Everything required work. As darkness settles across the Atlantic, you lean against the rail and watch the moonlight sparkle across the water. The ocean stretches endlessly in every direction. No cities, no roads, no buildings, no electric lights, nothing except sea and sky. For many sailors, this isolation felt both beautiful and terrifying. Some nights the ocean seemed peaceful enough to sleep forever. Other nights it felt like an endless wilderness, capable of swallowing entire ships without warning. The Atlantic had already claimed countless vessels long before 1715. Storms, high reefs, navigation mistakes, disease, pirates themselves, the ocean showed mercy to no one. Yet people continued crossing it, because the rewards could be enormous. Trade connected continents. Sugar traveled from the Caribbean, tobacco crossed the sea, rum filled barrels, gold and silver moved between empires. Every cargo ship carried wealth, and where wealth traveled, pirates often followed. The year 1715 sits within what historians call the Golden Age of Piracy. This period lasted only a few decades, but it produced many of the stories we still remember today. Blackbeard, Charles Vane, Calico Jack, Annie Bonny, names that continue to appear in books, films, and legends. Yet most pirates never became famous. Most were ordinary sailors searching for better opportunities. Life aboard merchant ships could be brutal. Captains often ruled like dictators. Food was poor. Pay was unreliable. Punishments could be harsh. Pirate crews sometimes offered something surprisingly attractive: a share of profits, the ability to vote on certain decisions, compensation for injuries. A greater sense of equality than many sailors experienced elsewhere. Of course, piracy remained dangerous and illegal, but many men saw it as preferable to their previous lives. The lantern beside you sways gently. Its light reflects across the polished brass compass near the helm. The helmsman stands quietly at his post. Steering a ship sounds exciting. In reality, it often involves hours of patience, tiny adjustments, careful observation, constant awareness of wind and waves. A moment of inattention could slowly push the vessel off course. Navigation in 1715 relied on skill, experience, and a little luck. There was no GPS, no radar, no satellite imagery. Only charts, stars, compasses, and knowledge passed from sailor to sailor. Imagine crossing thousands of miles of ocean, using little more than the night sky. That was everyday reality, and remarkably, sailors became very good at it. Generations of experience taught them how to read winds, currents, clouds, and stars. The sea itself became a map. Above you, the sails billow softly. Moonlight paints silver highlights across the canvas. The ship glides forward, steady, paddled, unhurried, as if the vessel itself is growing sleepy. The conversations around you begin fading. One sailor yawns, another disappears below deck. Soon only a handful of crew members remain awake. The rest prepare for another night at sea. You decide to follow them. A wooden staircase leads downward into the dim interior of the ship. The air changes immediately. The cool ocean breeze disappears. The scent of wood becomes stronger. Lanterns cast long shadows across cramped corridors. Space is limited aboard any sailing vessel. Every corner serves a purpose. Barrels fill storage areas. Tools hang from hooks. Ropes coil neatly against walls. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is unnecessary. A pirate ship is not designed for comfort. It is designed for survival, and survival requires efficiency. Ahead of you lies the sleeping area. Rows of hammocks sway gently in the darkness. Some sailors already sleep. Others whisper quietly before drifting off. The hammocks move with the ship, back and forth, almost like cradles. Many sailors actually preferred hammocks to beds. When waves rocked the ship, the hammock moved naturally with the motion. A fixed bed could throw someone onto the floor. A hammock simply swayed. You choose an empty one. The fabric creaks softly beneath your weight. Above you, wooden beams stretch across the ceiling. The lantern light flickers. The ship hums quietly around you. Somewhere above, waves brush against the hull. A sailor snores gently nearby. Another shifts in his hammock. The sounds blend together into a strange but comforting symphony. For people raised on land, these noises might seem unusual, for sailors they become the soundtrack of everyday life. Night after night, month after month, year after year, and as the ship continues its slow journey across the moonlit Atlantic, your eyes begin to feel heavier. The ocean rocks gently beneath you. The lantern glow softens, the voices fade, morning arrives slowly. At first, you do not realize you are awake. The gentle rocking of the ship continues exactly as it did during the night. The creaking timbers still groan softly around you. The distant sound of waves still brushes against the hull. For a few moments, lying in your hammock, you simply float between sleep and wakefulness. Then a voice echoes through the lower deck. All hands. Another voice follows. Morning watch. Around you sailors begin to stir, hammocks sway, boots thump against wooden planks. Someone yawns loudly. Another sailor mutters something unintelligible before climbing reluctantly from his bed. A new day has begun aboard the pirate ship. You sit up slowly. The lanterns that illuminated the night have been extinguished. Thin beams of sunlight now slip through gaps in the wooden structure above. Dust particles drift through the golden light. The air feels warmer already. Outside, the Atlantic Ocean stretches endlessly beneath a bright blue sky. The storm clouds of yesterday are gone. Today appears calm, at least for now. You climb carefully from your hammock and make your way toward the deck. The smell reaches you before the sunlight does. Breakfast. The scent is not exactly delicious. By modern standards, it might seem disappointing, but after weeks at sea, sailors learn to appreciate almost anything edible. A large pot simmers near the galley. The ship's cook stands nearby. He is not wearing a spotless white uniform, no chef's hat, no polished kitchen. The galley is cramped, hot, and constantly moving. Cooking aboard a ship is a challenge unlike any kitchen on land. Every wave threatens to spill boiling water. Every sudden movement risks sending food across the room. The cook must balance himself while preparing meals for dozens of hungry sailors. It is not an easy job. Breakfast this morning consists of hardtack and salted meat. Hardtack is exactly what it sounds like, hard, very hard. These simple biscuits are baked until nearly all moisture disappears. Without moisture, they can survive for months or even years without spoiling. Unfortunately, they also become almost impossible to bite. Many sailors soak them in water before eating. Others dip them in soup. Some simply accepted the challenge and chewed carefully. You take one in your hand. It feels more like a piece of wood than food, yet generations of sailors survived on it. The alternative was starvation. Fresh bread rarely lasted long at sea. Neither did fresh fruit or vegetables or milk. Most food had to survive long voyages. That meant salting, drying, smoking, or preserving almost everything. The sailors gather around barrels and crates that serve as makeshift tables. Breakfast is quiet. Most people are still waking up. A few men stare out at the ocean while chewing thoughtfully. Others joke about the previous night's snoring. One sailor insists that another snores louder than a cannon. The accused sailor laughs. Apparently, this argument has happened many times before. The crew seems relaxed, comfortable with one another. Months at sea create unusual friendships. These men work together, eat together, sleep in the same crowded spaces, face storms together, depend on one another for survival. Trust becomes essential. The sea has little patience for selfishness. A sailor who refuses to help during danger endangers everyone. That reality encourages cooperation. As breakfast ends, work begins immediately. There is always work, always. The ocean never allows a vacation. Several sailors climb into the rigging. Watching them is astonishing. They move across ropes high above the deck, with the confidence of acrobats. No safety harnesses, no protective equipment, only skill and experience. The rigging forms a vast web stretching between the masts. To inexperienced eyes, it appears impossibly complicated. Hundreds of ropes cross in every direction, yet sailors memorize them all. Each rope serves a purpose. Each knot matters. Each adjustment affects the ship's movement. A strong breeze fills the sails. Candle snaps softly overhead. The vessel leans slightly as it gains speed. You feel the change immediately. The ship seems more alive now, more energetic. Water rushes past the hull with a soothing hiss. Sunlight sparkles across endless waves. For a moment, it is easy to understand why some sailors spent their entire lives at sea. The ocean possesses a strange beauty, an endless horizon. Constant movement, infinite skies, every sunrise feels unique. Every sunset feels personal. No 2 days ever look exactly alike. Near the bow, several crew members inspect the ship's structure. Salt water is relentless. It attacks wood, metal, rope, everything. Without constant maintenance, even the strongest ship slowly deteriorates. One sailor examines a section of railing. Another applies tar to protect exposed wood. A third replaces damaged rope. The work may seem boring, but boring work prevents disasters. Many ships survive storms because sailors spent countless hours performing routine maintenance. The sea rewards preparation. It punishes neglect. Oars pass peacefully. The morning sun climbs higher. Heat begins to build. The Atlantic transforms into a vast mirror of blue and silver. Flying fish occasionally leap from the water. Seabirds circle overhead. Far in the distance, dolphins briefly appear alongside the ship. Their sleek bodies rise and disappear among the waves. The crew pauses to watch them. Even experienced sailors enjoy such moments. Life at sea contains long stretches of repetition. Unexpected sights become treasured entertainment. A pod of dolphins, a whale, a distant island. Anything unusual breaks the routine. One sailor claims dolphins bring good luck. Another insists they simply enjoy racing ships. Nobody knows for certain. The debate continues for several minutes before everyone returns to work. Near midday, the ship's bell rings. The sound echoes across the deck. Lunch approaches. The crew gathers once more. Food remains simple. A stew prepared from preserved ingredients, some dried peas, more hardtack, perhaps a small ration of rum diluted with water. Fresh water is precious. Barrels store the ship's supply. Unfortunately, water does not remain fresh forever. After weeks at sea, it often develops unpleasant flavors. Rum helps improve the taste. Many sailors preferred it for that reason alone. As you sit among the crew, listening to casual conversation, something becomes clear. Real pirate life looks very different from popular stories. There are no treasure maps spread across tables, no dramatic sword fights every afternoon, no buried treasure waiting on every island. Most days involve ordinary routines: work, meals, repairs, navigation, dock leap. And yet there is something fascinating about that reality, because these ordinary moments were the true foundation of life at sea. The legends came later. The daily routines came first. Without discipline, no pirate ship could survive long enough to become legendary. The afternoon sun shines warmly overhead. The ocean remains calm. The ship continues westward through glittering water. And somewhere beyond the horizon, adventures may still await. The afternoon drifts by slowly. The sun hangs high above the Atlantic, turning the ocean into a field of liquid diamonds. Every wave catches the light, every ripple sparkles. The ship glides steadily forward, pushed by a favorable wind that fills the sails with a constant, reassuring pull. Oars pass without excitement, and strangely, nobody seems disappointed. Experienced sailors know that calm days are gifts. The sea has a habit of reminding people who is truly in charge. A peaceful afternoon is something to appreciate. You lean against the rail and watch the horizon. There is nothing there, Just water, endless water. It is difficult for modern minds to understand how isolated sailors felt in 1715. Today, a person can cross an ocean in hours. Back then, crossing the Atlantic could take weeks or months. Once land disappeared behind the horizon, the crew entered another world, a floating world. A wooden island surrounded by thousands of miles of open sea. Some sailors loved it, others hated it. Many experienced both feelings at the same time. The afternoon watch continues. A sailor climbs the main mast. Another repairs a section of sailcloth damaged during an earlier storm. Several crew members clean weapons, not because they expect a battle today, because equipment must always be ready. Salt air damages everything. Metal rusts quickly near the ocean. A neglected pistol can become useless. A neglected cutlass can deteriorate. Maintenance never ends. Near the stern, a group of sailors plays a simple game using carved pieces of bone. Lotter occasionally drifts across the deck. Life aboard a pirate ship could be dangerous, but it was not miserable every moment. Humans adapt surprisingly well, even in difficult circumstances, even far from home. As evening approaches, the temperature begins to soften. The harsh midday sunlight fades into golden warmth. Long shadows stretch across the deck. The Atlantic changes color. Blue becomes silver. Silver becomes gold. The entire ocean seems to glow. Then something happens. A voice suddenly calls from above. Ship. Instantly, every head turns upward. The lookout stands high in the crow's nest. One hand shields his eyes. The other points toward the horizon. Excitement spreads across the deck. Not panic, not fear, curiosity. A ship sighting breaks the routine. Crew members rush toward the rail. You follow them at first, you see nothing. Then slowly, far in the distance, a tiny shape emerges against the horizon. A sail small, barely visible, yet unmistakable. Another vessel. The captain raises a spyglass. Several officers gather nearby. Nobody speaks loudly. The mood changes immediately. Forecasted out, professional. Because every ship could mean opportunity or danger. Merchant vessels carried valuable cargo, but warships carried cannons. Choosing the wrong target could be fatal. The captain studies the distant vessel for several minutes. Finally, he lowers the spyglass. The crew waits. Silence settles over the deck. Then the captain smiles. A merchant ship. The mood lightens instantly. Excited conversations erupt. Yet, despite the excitement, everything remains surprisingly organized. This is not a chaotic group of reckless adventurers. These are experienced sailors. They know their jobs. They understand their roles. Preparations begin. Cannons are checked. Powder is inspected. Weapons are distributed. The ship adjusts course slightly. The distant vessel remains unaware, at least for now. As the pirate ship gradually closes the distance, you notice something interesting. Nobody seems eager for violence. Stories often portray pirates as bloodthirsty criminals searching for fights. The reality was often different. Combat was dangerous for everyone. Even victorious crews could lose valuable sailors. A smart captain preferred surrender. Intimidation was usually more profitable than battle. A merchant captain looking at dozens of armed pirates often decided resistance was not worth the risk. Eventually, the merchant ship notices the approaching vessel. Activity erupts aboard the distant deck. Tiny figures run between sails and masts. Decisions must be made quickly: fight, flee, or surrender. The pirate flag rises, black against the evening sky. Even from a distance, its message is clear. The crew waits. Minutes pass. The Atlantic seems unusually quiet. Then the merchant ship lowers its colors. A signal of surrender. A collective sigh spreads across the pirate vessel. No battle, no bloodshed, no cannon fire. just business. The two ships draw alongside one another. Voices echo across the water. Negotiations begin. Cargo is inspected. Supplies are evaluated. The process takes hours as darkness slowly returns. Lanterns illuminate both vessels. Eventually, the work is finished. The merchant ship remains afloat. Its crew remains alive. The pirate ship gains supplies and goods. Not every encounter ended this peacefully, but many did. Violence was expensive. Fear was often enough. By the time the ships separate, night has fully arrived. The merchant vessel disappears into darkness. The pirate ship resumes its journey. The crew seems satisfied. No celebrations, no wild cheering, just quiet contentment. Another successful day. Another day survived. Another day closer to whatever destination awaits beyond the horizon. Dinner is served beneath the stars. Civil food, civil conversations, civil pleasures. The moon rises higher. Its reflection dances across black water. One sailor quietly sings an old sea ballad. Others join softly. The song drifts across the ocean. Melancholy, peaceful, beautiful. You sit near the rail and listen. The words speak of distant ports, lost love's home. Every sailor understands those themes. No matter how adventurous life becomes, thoughts eventually return to home. Many crew members have not seen their families in years. Some may never return. Such realities are accepted without discussion. The ocean takes people away. Sometimes forever. The song ends. Silence returns. Only waves remain. The ship continues onward beneath countless stars. The lantern beside you sways gently. The sails whisper overhead. The crew gradually disappears below deck. One by one, the day is ending. Tomorrow will bring new winds, new horizons, perhaps new dangers. But tonight, the Atlantic is calm. Tonight, the pirate ship drifts peacefully through moonlit water. And somewhere beyond the darkness, unseen shores wait patiently for your arrival. The storm announces itself long before the first drop of rain falls. At first, it is only a feeling, a subtle change in the air, a heaviness, a silence. Even the crew notices it. The jokes become less frequent. The laughter fades. Experienced sailors glance toward the horizon more often. Something is coming. You stand near the bow as the afternoon sky begins to darken. Far away, enormous clouds rise from the sea. They tower into the heavens like mountains made of shadow. The Atlantic Ocean remains calm for the moment, but everyone aboard knows better. The sea often gives warnings, and wise sailors listen. The captain studies the approaching clouds through his spyglass. His expression becomes serious. Orders are given immediately. The crew springs into action. Sails are adjusted. Loose equipment is secured. Barrels are tied down. Extra ropes are checked. The ship transforms from a peaceful floating home into a machine preparing for survival. Nobody wastes time. Nobody questions instructions. When storms approach, teamwork becomes everything. The first wind arrives an hour later. A sudden gust sweeps across the deck. The sails snap loudly overhead. Ropes strain. The ship leans slightly. Then another gust follows, stronger, colder. The ocean begins changing color. The bright blue water turns dark gray. The sky follows. Sunlight disappears behind thick clouds. The world becomes darker by the minute. Thunder rumbles somewhere in the distance, deep, low, ancient, like a giant awakening beyond the horizon. You watch as the crew climbs into the rigging one last time, high above the deck. Sailors move across ropes that sway violently in the strengthening wind. The work is dangerous. One mistake could send a man falling into the sea. Yet they move with confidence. Years of experience guide every step, every knot, every movement. Rain finally arrives, not gradually. The sky simply opens. Sheets of water crash onto the deck. Within seconds, Everyone is soaked. The wooden planks become slippery. Lanterns are extinguished. Vivizar shrinks. The horizon disappears completely. Sea and sky blend together into a single wall of grey. Then, for the first truly large wave, the ship rises. Higher, higher. For a moment it feels as though the vessel is climbing a watery hill. Then the bow tips downward. The ship plunges. Your stomach drops. Water explodes across the deck. Several sailors grab ropes to maintain balance. The storm has arrived. Thunder cracks directly overhead. Lightning flashes across the sky. For an instant, the entire ocean glows white. Then darkness returns. The wind howls through the rigging. The masts groan. The sails strain. The ship fights forward against forces far larger than itself. And yet something remarkable happens. The crew remains calm, focused, determined. This is not their first storm, not even close. Every sailor aboard understands his role. Some control sails, others monitor ropes. Several remain near pumps below deck, because storms create leaks, and leaks create danger. The ocean constantly searches for ways into the ship. The crew must constantly push it back out. Hour after hour, the storm intensifies. Waves now tower above the deck. Massive walls of water rise from darkness. Each one looks large enough to swallow the vessel completely. The ship climbs, falls, climbs again. The motion becomes exhausting. Even standing requires effort. Every muscle works constantly to maintain balance. Many new sailors become seasick during weather like this. Even experienced crew members occasionally struggle. The Atlantic shows no mercy. You eventually move below deck. The interior of the ship feels entirely different now. The gentle rocking of previous nights is gone. Everything moves violently. Hammocks swing wildly. Barrels creak against restraints. Wood groans from every direction. The ship sounds alive, as if it is fighting the storm alongside the crew. Above your head, footsteps thunder across the deck. Comments echo through the darkness. Rain pounds the wooden roof. Water drips from beams, yet nobody panics, because panic solves nothing. Skill solves problems. Experience solves problems. Teamwork solves problems. For hours the storm rages. The crew works without rest. The captain remains at his post. The helmsman grips the wheel. Sailors haul ropes despite aching muscles. Everyone contributes, everyone endures. And slowly, very slowly, the storm begins losing strength. The thunder grows more distant. The wind weakens. The waves shrink. Rain becomes lighter. The ocean still rolls heavily beneath the ship. But the worst has passed. Dawn finally approaches. Grey light appears through cracks in the hull. The storm clouds begin breaking apart. Patches of blue sky emerge. Sunlight returns. The Atlantic reveals itself once again. Exhausted sailors look around. The ship survived. The masts remain standing. The sails remain attached. The hull remains intact. There is damage, of course. There is always damage after a storm. Ropes need replacing. Wood requires repairs. Equipment must be inspected, but the ship floats, and that is what matters. The crew gathers quietly on deck. No grand speeches. No dramatic celebrations. Just relief. Still relief. Another storm survived. Another challenge overcome. The ocean tested them, and they endured. As sunlight spreads across the water, something beautiful happens. A rainbow appears. Its colors stretch across the horizon, bright against the fading storm clouds. Several sailors stop working for a moment to admire it. Even hardened seamen appreciate beauty after darkness. The Atlantic now seems peaceful again, almost innocent, as if it had not spent the entire night trying to tear the ship apart. That is the nature of the sea. Gentle one moment, terrifying the next, and perhaps that is why sailors never stop respecting it. You stand near the rail, Fresh morning air fills your lungs. The sun warms your face, the waves sparkle once more, the ship sails onward, steady, resilient. The morning after the storm feels almost unreal. Only a few hours ago, towering waves crashed against the ship, thunder shook the sky, and every sailor fought to keep the vessel afloat. Now the Atlantic appears peaceful. Sunlight dances across gentle swells. White clouds drift lazily overhead. Seabirds circle in the distance. The ocean seems determined to pretend nothing happened. But the crew knows better. The storm left its marks. Several sailors immediately begin repairs. A torn section of sail is lowered. Damaged ropes are replaced. Cracked wooden planks are inspected. Life aboard a pirate ship always returns to work, no matter what happened yesterday. As you watch the crew, you begin noticing something unusual about the way decisions are made. The captain gives orders during navigation. He commands during battles. His authority is respected, yet he does not control everything. In fact, many pirate ships operated differently from the merchant vessels of their time. On merchant ships, captains often ruled with absolute authority. Their word was law. Punishments could be severe. Sailors had little say. Pirate crews frequently rejected that system. Many pirate ships used a surprising form of democracy. Before joining the crew, sailors often agreed to a written set of rules. These rules were called articles. Every crew member was expected to follow them. The articles explained how treasure would be divided, how disputes would be handled, what punishments existed for breaking rules, and what compensation injured sailors would receive. The idea was simple. Everyone understood the expectations before the voyage began. The captain remained important, but his power had limits. In some cases, crews even voted for their captain. And if enough sailors lost confidence in him, they could remove him. This was remarkably unusual for the early 1700s. Many ordinary sailors experienced more personal freedom aboard pirate ships than they did elsewhere. Of course, piracy remained dangerous and often brutal, but life under a pirate captain could still feel fairer than life under a cruel merchant captain. As the morning continues, a discussion breaks out among several sailors. The topic is treasure, not buried treasure, actual treasure, the kind pirates hope to find aboard valuable ships. Stories about pirates often focus on chests overflowing with gold coins. The reality was usually less glamorous. Most captured cargo consisted of practical goods: sugar, tobacco, cloth, food tools, rum weapons, anything valuable enough to sell. Gold certainly existed. Silver existed too, but enormous treasure chests were far less common than legends suggest. Still, sailors loved telling stories. One crew member claims he once saw enough silver to fill an entire room. Another insists he met a pirate who owned diamonds larger than eggs. A third sailor laughs and accuses both men of exaggeration. Nobody seems particularly concerned about the truth. The stories themselves are entertainment, and entertainment matters during long voyages. The afternoon passes peacefully. The crew repairs storm damage while sharing old sea tales. Some stories involve shipwrecks. Others involve sea monsters. One sailor swears he saw a giant squid years ago. Another claims he encountered a ghost ship drifting through thick fog. Nobody knows whether the stories are real. That hardly matters. The ocean encourages imagination. Weeks surrounded by endless water can make almost anything seem possible. As evening approaches, conversation turns toward famous pirates. Certain names command respect throughout the Atlantic. The most famous of all may be Blackbeard, a towering figure with a fearsome appearance. Stories claim he tied slow-burning fuses into his beard before battles. The smoke surrounded his face, making him appear almost supernatural. Whether every story is true remains uncertain. But one thing is clear. Blackbeard understood psychology. Fear could be more powerful than weapons. If an enemy surrendered without fighting, everyone survived. A terrifying reputation often accomplished exactly that. Other famous captains earn mention as well. Men whose names spread from port to port. Some became wealthy, others died young. Very few enjoyed long retirements. Piracy was rarely a lifelong career. The risks were simply too high. Eventually, most pirates encountered bad luck, a stronger enemy, a violent storm, a navigation mistake, disease, or betrayal. The sea collected its debts sooner or later. As darkness returns, lanterns illuminate the deck once again. Dinner is served. The mood feels relaxed, comfortable. Several sailors play music using simple instruments. A fiddle appears from somewhere below deck. A drum follows. Soon a small crowd gathers. The music is cheerful. Not because life is easy, because people have survived another day. That alone feels worth celebrating. You sit near the stern and watch the stars emerge, one by one, then hundreds, then thousands. The night sky above the Atlantic seems impossibly large. Without modern lights, the heavens reveal themselves completely. The Milky Way stretches overhead like a river of silver dust. Many sailors navigate by these stars. Others simply admire them. For people who spend their lives at sea, the sky becomes a familiar companion. Reliable, constant, comforting. A young sailor points toward a constellation. An older sailor immediately corrects him. Good-natured laughter follows. The lesson continues. Knowledge passes from one generation to the next, just as it has for centuries. The ocean may change, ships may change, but sailors continue teaching sailors. Near midnight, most of the crew retires below deck. The music fades, the lanterns grow fewer. Only the watch remains awake. The ship sails quietly through moonlit water. The Atlantic breathes softly around the hull. Waves rise and fall. Stars shine overhead. And somewhere beyond the darkness, hidden beyond the horizon, lies another day of adventure. For now, however, there is only peace, only the sea, only the gentle creak of wood, only the steady rhythm of a pirate ship sailing through the night in the year 1715. The next morning arrives with a warmth that feels different. You notice it immediately. The air is softer. The wind carries a faint scent that has been absent for weeks. Land not visible yet. Not quite, but something in the atmosphere has changed. The crew notices it too. Experienced sailors often claim they can sense nearby islands before they appear. Sometimes they smell vegetation carried by distant breezes. Sometimes they notice birds that rarely venture far from shore. Whatever the reason, excitement quietly spreads across the ship. After so many days surrounded by endless ocean, the possibility of land feels almost magical. The Atlantic rolls gently beneath the hull. The storm from days earlier is now only a memory. The sails billow peacefully. Sunlight warms the deck. And far above, seabirds appear. One, then several more. Their white wings flash against the blue sky. A sailor points upward. Land birds. The words travel quickly across the ship. Conversations become more animated. Smiles appear. Even the captain seems relaxed. You spend the morning near the bow, watching the horizon. Hours pass. Nothing. Then suddenly, there it is. A dark shape. Tiny, barely visible. A faint line against the distant sky. An island. At first it seems unreal. After so many days of nothing but water, land almost looks like a dream. Yet as the ship continues forward, the shape grows larger. Ditties slowly emerge. Green hills, palm trees, rocky cliffs, white beaches, the Caribbean. A murmur spreads through the crew. For many sailors, islands represent safety, fresh food, fresh water. Read the simple pleasure of standing on solid ground. You can almost feel the collective relief aboard the ship. The island grows larger throughout the afternoon. The colors become clearer. Bright green forests, golden sand, turquoise water shimmering beneath the sun. The Caribbean truly feels different from the open Atlantic. The water seems calmer, warmer, friendlier. Schools of colorful fish flash beneath the surface. Sea turtles occasionally appear beside the ship. The entire world seems brighter. As evening approaches, the pirate ship drops anchor in a sheltered bay. The sound echoes across the water, chains rattle, wood creaks. Then, for the first time in many weeks, the ship stops moving almost completely. The difference feels strange. Your body has grown accustomed to constant motion. The gentle rocking of the ocean has become normal. Now everything feels still, quiet, peaceful. Small boats travel between the shore and the ship. Some sailors head toward land. Others remain aboard. Not everyone rushes away. For many crew members, the ship has become home. A floating home, perhaps, but home nonetheless. You choose to remain on deck as the sun begins its descent. The Caribbean sky transforms into a masterpiece of color. Orange, gold, pink, purple. The ocean reflects every shade. Palm trees become dark silhouettes against the horizon. The evening breeze rustles the leaves. Lanterns begin glowing aboard the ship, one by one. Golden points of light against the approaching darkness. The crew settles into a peaceful rhythm. No storms, no enemy ships, no urgent repairs. Just a quiet evening in a tropical bay. A rare luxury. Dinner feels different tonight. Fresh fruit has arrived from shore. After months of preserved food, the simple taste of fresh fruit feels extraordinary. Several sailors laugh as they devour oranges. One claims he could eat 100. Another insists he could eat 200. Nobody believes him. The conversation continues anyway. Darkness gradually settles across the island. Stars emerge overhead. The water becomes smooth as glass. Moonlight paints silver reflections across the bay. The ship rests quietly at anchor. No longer racing across the Atlantic. No longer battling storms, simply resting. As the night deepens, the crew grows quieter. Music fades, conversations end. Lanterns dim, one by one. Sailors disappear below deck. Eventually, only a few members of the watch remain awake. You stand alone near the rail. The sea is calm, the sky is clear. The island sleeps peacefully beneath the stars. And for a moment, everything feels perfectly still. You think about the journey, the endless horizon, the storms, the moonlit nights, the songs, the laughter, the hard work, the quiet moments between adventures. Life aboard a pirate ship was rarely as dramatic as legends suggest. Yet perhaps that is what makes it so fascinating. Real life unfolded between the famous stories, between the battles, between the treasures, in the ordinary moments, the shared meals, the repairs, the friendships. The long nights beneath the stars, the ship creaks softly around you. A familiar sound now, comforting, almost soothing. The ocean whispers against the hull. Gentle waves brush the wood, back and forth, like a cradle, like a lullaby. The lantern nearest you flickers once, then settles. The warm glow reflects across polished wood. Above, the stars continue their slow journey across the sky, exactly as they did hundreds of years ago, exactly as they will, long after this voyage ends. You take one final look across the moonlit water, then slowly make your way below deck. The hammocks sway gently. Most of the crew already sleeps. The air smells faintly of salt and wood. The familiar sounds of the ship surround you. You settle into your hammock. The fabric cradles you comfortably. The vessel moves ever so slightly beneath the calm Caribbean waters. A slow rhythm, a peaceful rhythm. the kind that makes your eyes feel heavy, the kind that invites sleep. Outside, the sea continues its endless conversation with the shore. Inside, the ship rests, the crew rests. And now perhaps, you can rest as well. The voyage is over, the ocean is calm, the stars are shining, and somewhere beyond the darkness, another adventure waits for another day. For tonight there is only peace, only the gentle rocking of the ship, only the quiet whisper of the sea, and a calm Caribbean night beneath an endless sky. Good night, sailor, the voyage may be over. But sleep has not arrived just yet. The ship remains anchored in the quiet Caribbean Bay. Outside, the moon hangs high above the water. Its reflection stretches across the sea like a silver pathway disappearing into eternity. The crew sleeps, the island sleeps. Even the wind seems tired tonight. Yet you remain awake for a little while longer, listening. The sounds are different now. Gone is the constant rush of water against the hull. Gone is the strain of sails pulling against strong winds. Instead, there is only the occasional splash of a fish, the distant cry of a seabird, the soft clink of the anchor chain far below. Everything feels slower, gentler. Far away on the shoreline, tiny points of light flicker among the trees. Perhaps fishermen, perhaps travelers, perhaps families gathered around evening fires. You imagine their lives, people living on the island, waking with the sunrise, working beneath warm tropical skies, listening to the same ocean that now surrounds your ship. The thought is comforting because wherever people live, life follows familiar rhythms. Morning and evening, work and rest, arrival and departure. The sea connects them all. Your hammock sways almost imperceptibly. Back and forth, each movement grows smaller, each movement softer. The ship itself seems sleepy. The old timbers settle quietly. The masts stand motionless against the stars. Even the lanterns burn lower now. One by one, their flames shrink. Golden light becomes amber. Amber becomes a faint glow. Then darkness gently fills the corners of the ship. Above deck, the watchman walks slowly across the planks. His footsteps are steady, unhurried. There is nowhere to rush tonight. Nothing to chase, nothing to fear. Only calm water, only peaceful skies, only the endless Caribbean night. You close your eyes for a moment, and in your imagination, the journey begins replaying itself. You remember the first night aboard, the vast Atlantic stretching beyond every horizon, the smell of salt carried by the wind, the distant stars guiding the ship through darkness. You remember the laughter of sailors sharing stories, the cook struggling to prepare meals in a rolling galley, the orange cat sleeping on a barrel, the lookout scanning the horizon from high above. You remember the storm, towering waves rising from darkness, thunder shaking the heavens, rain hammering the deck, and the remarkable determination of the crew as they faced the ocean's power together. Then came the calm, the brilliant mornings, the dolphins racing beside the ship, the songs beneath the stars, the sight of distant islands appearing like dreams on the horizon. Mirror after memory drifts gently through your thoughts, like waves rolling toward shore, slowly, quietly, peacefully. Outside the tide changes, the water moves softly beneath the anchored ship. The bay remains calm, the island remains silent, the stars continue shining overhead. Some of those stars guided sailors centuries before this voyage, others will guide sailors centuries after. Generations come and go, ships come and go, but the sea remains endless, eternal. Perhaps that is why people have always been drawn to it. Not because it is easy, not because it is safe, but because it reminds us how vast the world truly is. And tonight, as you rest aboard this wooden ship in the year 1715, the ocean feels less like a wilderness and more like a lullaby. A gentle rhythm, a timeless song. A quiet promise that everything is exactly as it should be. The hammock sways once more, back and forth, back and forth. Your breathing slows. The sounds around you fade. The watchman's footsteps become distant. The waves become softer. The lantern light disappears completely, and the pirate ship rests peacefully beneath the moonlit Caribbean sky. The voyage is finished. The ocean is calm. The night is warm. Far out beyond the quiet bay, beyond the sleeping island, beyond even the horizon itself, the ocean continues its endless journey. Waves that touch your ship tonight may one day reach distant shores thousands of miles away. They may wash against the beaches of Europe. They may drift past Africa. They may cross paths with whales, dolphins, and countless ships yet to be built. The sea never truly stops moving, and perhaps that is why it feels so alive. You lie quietly in your hammock. The wooden beams above seem softer now. The sounds of the ship have become familiar companions. A creak from the mast, a faint groan from the hull, the distant splash of water against wood. Hours ago you noticed every sound. Now they blend together into something comforting, almost musical, almost like rain on a rooftop. The old pirate ship has spent years crossing oceans. It has survived storms, battles, long voyages, countless sunsets, countless sunrises. Every scratch in the wood tells a story. Every rope has weathered wind and salt. Every plank has carried sailors across vast stretches of water. If ships could speak, this vessel would have thousands of stories to tell. Stories of distant islands hidden beneath tropical skies. Stories of merchant ships appearing suddenly from morning fog. Stories of storms that turn daylight into darkness. Stories of brave sailors and foolish sailors, lucky sailors and unlucky sailors. But tonight, none of those stories matter. Tonight there is only rest, only stillness, only the slow rhythm of the Caribbean night. The moon continues climbing higher. Its silver light slips through tiny gaps in the ship's structure. Soft beams stretch across the floor, across sleeping sailors, across neatly coiled ropes. Everything appears peaceful. Even time itself seems slower here. No clocks ticking, no engines humming, no distant traffic. Only nature, only wind, only sea, only stars. You imagine the world beyond the bay. Dense jungles covering nearby hills, palm trees swaying gently in the darkness, small creatures moving through moonlit forests, birds sleeping high in the branches. The island dreams beneath the stars, just as the ship dreams upon the water. The entire world seems asleep, and you are part of it, part of the ocean, part of the night. Part of a quiet moment suspended between yesterday and tomorrow. The hammock rocks gently, back and forth, each movement slower than the last. The air remains warm, comfortable, neither hot nor cold, perfect for sleep, perfect for drifting. Somewhere outside, a fish leaps briefly from the water. A tiny splash, then silence returns. The sound fades quickly into the darkness. The ocean accepts it without disturbance, without hurry, without concern. Everything here moves according to its own rhythm. A rhythm older than any ship, older than any sailor, older than any map. The rhythm of tides, the rhythm of waves, the rhythm of the sea itself. And as you listen, that rhythm seems to blend with your breathing. Slow, steady. Calm, the ship remains anchored securely. Nothing demands your attention. Nothing requires effort. No sails need adjusting. No storms threaten the horizon. No lookout calls from above. The journey can wait until morning. Tomorrow belongs to tomorrow. Tonight belongs to sleep. The stars slowly wheel overhead. Invisible from your hammock now, yet still shining above the mast. Ancient stars, being stars, the same stars that guided sailors across oceans hundreds of years ago. The same stars shining quietly over the world at this very moment. They ask for nothing. They simply shine. And beneath them, the pirate ship rests peacefully in the calm Caribbean waters. The sea whispers softly against the hull. The hammock sways one final time. Back and forth, then slower still, until movement and stillness become almost the same thing. The night deepens, the sounds fade, the world grows quieter, the night grows deeper. The Caribbean Bay has become a world of silver and shadow. The moon now stands high above the water, bright enough to paint every ripple with soft light. From somewhere far away comes the faint sound of waves breaking against a distant shore. Slow, gentle, endless. The sound travels across the quiet water and reaches the sleeping ship like a distant lullaby. You remain comfortably nestled in your hammock. The canvas cradles you perfectly. For weeks, perhaps months, sailors aboard this vessel have slept the same way, rocked by waves, surrounded by creaking wood, protected only by the strength of the ship and the skill of its crew. At first such a life might seem difficult, yet now it feels natural. The ship itself feels almost alive, not alive in a frightening way, alive in the way an old tree feels alive, or a river, or the ocean itself. The vessel breathes through its timbers, it speaks through its creaks, it moves with the sea rather than against it. Above, the masts rise into the darkness, invisible now, but still standing watch over the sleeping crew. The sails have been furled. The ropes hang quietly. Everything rests. Even the wind seems to have settled down for the night. Oars pass unnoticed. The stars slowly rotate across the heavens. One constellation disappears beyond the horizon. Another rises to replace it. Sailors have watched this silent dance for generations, long before 1715. Long before pirate ships crossed the Caribbean, long before maps accurately described these waters, the stars were always there, pennantly guiding travelers through darkness. You imagine all the ships that have sailed beneath them. Merchant vessels heavy with cargo, fishing boats returning home, exploration ships searching for unknown lands, warships carrying cannons and soldiers, and countless small boats whose names history has forgotten. Each one carried people, dreams, stories, hopes, fears. The ocean remembers them all, though it never speaks of them. The ship drifts slightly at anchor, a barely noticeable movement, just enough to remind you that the sea never becomes completely still. The tide rises. The tide falls. The moon pulls gently on the water, and the water responds. It has done so for millions of years. It will continue long after every ship has vanished. There is something comforting about that thought. The world is larger than any single journey, larger than any single person, larger than any single story. Yet tonight, your small corner of that world feels safe, warm, peaceful. A lantern somewhere above deck flickers briefly, then goes dark. Now only moonlight remains. Silver light, soft light, sleepy light. The kind of light that belongs to dreams. The crew sleeps soundly. One sailor quietly snores. Another turns in his hammock. Then silence returns. The sounds are never disruptive. Only reminders that you are not alone, that somewhere nearby, others are resting too, showering the same peaceful night, showering the same calm sea. Outside, a warm breeze finally stirs again. It moves through the rigging with a faint whisper, not enough to wake anyone, just enough to make the ropes gently sway. The sound resembles distant music, soft sibyl, relaxing, the kind of sound that encourages tired eyes to close. And so the pirate ship remains exactly where it is, anchored beneath the stars, floating upon moonlit water, wrapped in silence, wrapped in peace. And as the hours slowly drift toward dawn, the world grows quieter still. The sea whispers, The ship breathes, the stars shine, and somewhere between wakefulness and sleep, your thoughts drift away like a small boat, carried gently across calm Caribbean waters farther and farther. The hours before dawn are the quietest of all. Even the ocean seems to know it. The small sounds that filled the night gradually fade away. The occasional splash of a fish becomes rare. The breeze softens. The ropes hanging from the masts barely move. Everything settles into a deep and peaceful stillness. You remain comfortably in your hammock, drifting somewhere between dreams and wakefulness. The ship rocks ever so gently, back and forth, like a cradle floating upon an endless sea. The Caribbean night is warm, not the heavy heat of midday, not the chill of an Atlantic storm. Just a gentle warmth that wraps around the sleeping vessel. The kind of warmth that makes blankets unnecessary. The kind of warmth that encourages long, restful sleep. Above deck, the watchman slowly walks his route. His boots touch the wooden planks with soft, steady footsteps. He pauses occasionally to look toward the horizon, not because he expects danger, simply because it is his duty. A ship is never completely unattended. Even on peaceful nights, even in safe waters, someone is always watching. Someone is always listening. Someone is always awake while others rest. The stars continue their silent journey overhead. The moon slowly begins descending toward the western horizon. Its bright reflection stretches across the bay. A silver road across black water. A road that leads nowhere and everywhere at once. Many sailors have stared at that reflection during long nights at sea. Some wondered what awaited them in distant ports. Some thought about loved ones far away. Some simply enjoyed the beauty of the moment. Tonight, there is no need to think about tomorrow. No need to think about destinations. The journey is paused. The anchor holds firm. The ship rests. And so do you. The wooden hull beneath you gently rises and falls with the tide. A motion so subtle that it barely feels real. The ocean breathes, and the ship breathes with it. Long ago, the trees that became these planks grew in quiet forests. They swayed in the wind. They listened to birds. They watched seasons pass. Now those same trees carry sailors across oceans, across storms, across years. There is something comforting about that. The wood remembers movement. The wood remembers patience. And tonight it continues its long journey beneath the stars. Far away on the island, the first signs of approaching dawn begin to appear. Not light, not yet, just a faint softening of the darkness, a subtle change, almost impossible to notice unless you are looking carefully. Night still rules the sky, but morning has begun its slow approach. The world holds its breath during this time. Everything feels suspended, balanced between darkness and light, this sleep and waking, dreams and reality. The pirate ship floats quietly within that peaceful moment. A few seabirds begin stirring in the trees along the shore. Their calls are soft as sleemy. The sounds drift across the water, then fade away again. The bay remains calm. The stars remain bright. And the hammock continues, its slow rhythm back and forth. Back and forth, the motion becomes smaller, gentler, until it almost disappears entirely. The crew sleeps deeply, the island sleeps. The sea itself seems sleepy, and as the final hours of night pass beneath the Caribbean sky, the world becomes softer, quieter, calmer. The moon sinks lower, the stars begin to fade one by one. And somewhere beyond the horizon, hidden from view, the sun patiently waits for another day. But that day is not here yet. For now there is only darkness, only peace, only the gentle whisper of water against wood, only the quiet comfort of a pirate ship resting safely at anchor. And as the night slowly carries you farther into sleep, the sounds of the sea become more distant, the creaks become softer, the waves become quieter, The world becomes still. The darkness before sunrise feels endless. Yet somewhere beyond the horizon, morning is quietly preparing to arrive. You cannot see it, not yet, but the world is changing, very slowly, very gently. The moon hangs low now, casting a soft silver glow across the calm waters of the bay. Its reflection trembles whenever a small wave passes beneath the anchored ship. The sea seems almost asleep, almost. A faint breeze drifts across the deck. It carries the scent of salt water and distant tropical forests. Palm leaves rustle somewhere along the shoreline. The sound is so soft that it blends with the whisper of the waves. Everything feels far away, even time itself. The ship remains perfectly still compared to its long Atlantic voyage. No towering waves, no storms, no rushing wind in the sails, only peace, only rest. You lie quietly in your hammock. The canvas supports you effortlessly. Your breathing has become slow, steady, comfortable. The rhythm matches the movement of the sea. Back and forth, back and forth, the sounds of the sleeping ship surround you. A faint creak overhead, a distant groan from the hull. The occasional shifting of rope somewhere above deck. These sounds no longer feel strange. They feel familiar, safe, like the sounds of home. Many sailors spent years living this way. Some spent decades. Eventually, the ship became more familiar than any town or city. The ocean became their road, the stars became their map, and the ship became their world. Outside, the first hint of dawn finally appears. Not sunlight, just the faintest touch of grey along the eastern horizon. A thin line separating sea from sky. The stars nearest that horizon begin disappearing, one by one, quickly. Without ceremony, their long night of watchfulness is ending. Soon the sun will take over. But for now, darkness still rules. The watchman notices the approaching dawn. He pauses near the rail. For a few moments he simply watches the horizon. Perhaps he has seen thousands of sunrises. Yet somehow each one remains special. At sea, sunrise is never hidden behind buildings, never interrupted by traffic, never crowded. It arrives slowly across an open world. A world made only of water and sky. The bay begins waking up. A seabird calls from the shore. Another answers. The sounds are soft and distant. The island is stretching awake, preparing for another warm Caribbean day. But aboard the ship, most of the crew continues sleeping. The hammocks sway gently. The lanterns remain dark. Dreams still fill the quiet spaces below deck. The world seems suspended between night and morning, between sleep and wakefulness, between yesterday and today. The eastern sky grows brighter. Grey becomes pale blue becomes silver. The horizon slowly emerges from darkness. Shoes that were invisible moments ago now reveal themselves. The outline of distant hills, the curve of the shoreline, the tops of palm trees. Everything returns gradually, as if the world itself is waking up slowly. The sea reflects the growing light. Tiny ripples shimmer across the surface. The water remains calm, gentle, peaceful. A perfect morning. The kind sailors remember for years. The kind that makes long voyage